Hey everyone, Ray here. Meet the Poco F8 series. Alright, so we have two new phones here today. One comes with a 6.59-inch display, a smaller version, and one comes with a massive 6.9 inches display. Now, they're not exactly two identical phones, just with different screen sizes. Instead, they do pack some different specifications and hardware inside the chassis, and we'll be taking a thorough look at them at a live event here in Bali. And as usual, it's not a voiceover done by AI, so every verdict we'll be making today is totally based on my personal experience. Right, the design, you might find that camera plateau design familiar. Well, you know, I do agree with you in this particular one. So if you pay enough of attention here, or maybe just at a glance, you'll notice they've actually put an extra bass subwoofer unit here on the metal frame, camera plateau design here on the back camera module here. Now, together with a left and right channel dual speaker setup, now you'll be having a 2.1 channel speaker setup here, which is co-developed and tuned by Bose. But first, let's do the unboxing, shall we? Now, it's worth mentioning that both the Poco F8 Pro and the Ultra feature Sound by Bose audio system that's co-tuned with Bose. Well, they do have the branding and logo there, and they did had a pretty long video during the press event explaining their collaboration. Now, the key is there any real technology behind that and actual differences in our experience in real life? Now, we'll be exploring that shortly. Up to this stage, we can observe the build quality here is quite solid. We are also getting a metal speaker grille here and a reflective Bose logo. It certainly adds up to the premium look and feel to the design. Alongside with this unique back panel here, it's got a pretty unique denim-like finish. Now, the material itself isn't fabric of any kind. Now, if that's actually fabric, you'll be dealing with some serious stain resistance and durability concerns. Now, based on my understanding, this Xiaomi Poco called nanotech material here on the back is quite scratch and dirt resistant. And thanks to that rich texture on the surface of this material here on the back is actually providing pretty good grip, together with the rounded corners on the four well corners and that subtle 2.5D 3D curve on the edges of both the sides of the metal rail, which is made out of aluminum alloy. The Poco F8 Ultra feels solid in the hand, though it's more like you like that subwoofer design here on the back and you like that camera module and camera plateau design as well as the denim texture here on the back, or not. Now, if you prefer a more subtle design, the black variant of the Poco F8 Ultra is always there for you, got you covered, as well as the Poco F8 Pro. You will be getting a one-piece milled glass design on the back of the Poco F8 Pro. Now, here is for the battery. Here on the larger Ultra model, you'll be having a 6500 mAh battery, while here on the smaller one, you'll be having a 6200 mAh battery, which is not small at all. On the contrary, as for charging, you'll be having 100-watt fast wired charging on both of them, and that also applies to the dual SIM and eSIM support as well. Now, what you will be missing here though on the Poco F8 Pro is that Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. On the Ultra, you'll be having the last gen 8 Elite, which is now still regarded as a really powerful and capable mobile processor. Also, you'll be only having that extra subwoofer here on the Ultra variant. Oh, certainly you won't be having that on the Pro model. While here, let's quickly run through other major specifications. Now here, we have a USB 3.2 USB-C port, dual SIM with eSIM support as mentioned before, ultrasonic fingerprint sensors also a must now, and IP68 water and dust resistance also a standard. Right, now we've come to the biggest design change in recent years. Is that extra subwoofer here on the back of the phone really lived up to our expectation? Here they've actually set up a listening room here on site, so why not bring it back to our studio and do a thorough test, also comparing it to the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Now, if possible, listen to the upcoming part of this video using your pair of earphones. That should give you a clearer picture of how different they sound. easy to conclude the Poco F8 Ultra might just be that one single device with the absolute best speaker audio with the built-in speaker system on a smartphone. And if we go beyond the hardware, the software tuning here also plays a key role. If we go into the settings menu, the sound effects submenu, you'll be having two distinct audio modes. And based on my personal experience, these two profiles are quite different from each other. The dynamic mode here delivers punchier beats. On the other hand, the balance mode here suppresses that bass and lifts the mids and mids to highs frequencies. In my opinion, that should work well for classical music. Though for day-to-day use, even for YouTube videos and movie or films watching, the dynamic mode should give you the best punchy audio effect. Now here, under dynamic mode, we have further equalizer tuning. And you know, most of the time I would just disable that immersive sound or anything similar to that right out of the box. Not the case here. In my opinion, it truly enhances the phone's overall music experience by quite a big margin. Now, even in such a noisy environment, it was an indoor event, and if not dozens, hundreds of people were attending that. As you can see here, the volume gets seriously loud. Now bringing it outside in outdoor area, I truly appreciate what Poco Xiaomi is doing here. The reality that they're able to fit such a powerful speaker setup here in the limited space inside and such a thin smartphone chassis. I wouldn't say it's a piece of engineering marvel, that would be obviously too much, but it certainly is the best smartphone right now for your day-to-day YouTube videos, Netflix movies, even for gaming. You will definitely hear the difference. Now, speaking of gaming and media consumption, here we've got some new display technology here as well. So now Poco's naming their new display technology as Hyper RGB screen technology, and based on my understanding, they're actually using a new M10 OLED technology. As for the subpixels arrangement, now if you recall, the mainstream AMOLED and OLED display are actually using a pentel diamond arrangement for the subpixel, which is the RGB subpixels under each pixel. And I think it's fair to say, at today's technology with 2K resolutions on a mobile phone display, the resolution and sharpness are honestly not a concern. In that case, the displays here on the Poco F8 Pro and the Ultra variant, inside each individual pixel, they have their own dedicated RGB subpixels. Now, according to Poco, despite the specifications here on paper is actually 1.5K, which might be under average for a true flagship, well, for the price, it might only be just slightly more than half of that here. We'll be coming back to the price again in a few minutes. The main focus here is that Xiaomi is claiming that this 1.5K display is actually matching or actually close to the sharpness of a 2K display on this size. Now, what Poco is truly focusing on here is that the power consumption of these displays is actually more than 20% less compared to last-gen Poco F7 Ultra's display. Now, combined with a 6200 mAh and 6500 mAh battery on the Poco F8 Pro and the Ultra respectively, we should be expecting really promising battery life here. Oh, and speaking of reduced power consumption, the latest Snapdragon 80 Elite Gen 5, which is built on TSMC's third generation of 3nm process. Now, for sure, we will be getting much improved raw performance and benchmark scores. Here we have our standard test. Just a quick look at the Geekbench 6 multi-core CPU performance. If we compare this to the last-gen Poco F7 Ultra, we should be seeing around 20 to 23% of improvement. Now, as for the GPU and gaming performance, with the limited time we had our chance to get the hands on the new devices, this is a 20-minute wildlife stress test. Now, here's what actually caught my attention. Even the lowest run is now almost identical to the best run from phones from possibly 1 or 2 years ago. In reality, that should translate to really stable gaming experience. Now, these might also catch your attention if you game a lot on your phone. Now, you'll find a game turbo icon here, in the top left corner, here's the upgrade this year. Go into the performance mode here and custom settings. There you'll find the super resolution feature here upscales any game to a sharper 1.5K resolution, matching the resolution of your display now. And you'll now be able to upscale your game together with this smart frame rate turned on. Now this is a feature that upscales your game from 60 frames per second to 120 frames per second, and every game will work the same. I would say the sharpness of the image of the gameplay isn't that noticeable, though the smoothness of it is truly noticeable, especially for games which only support 60 frames per second, and now you can game at 120 thanks to Poco. Alright, here we've come to the camera. Now, let's face it, cameras haven't traditionally been Poco's main focus here. So this generation, especially on the Poco F8 Pro, you will be getting a 1/1.56 inch mainstream flagship sensor for the main camera sensor. Now, the series upgrade here on the F8 Ultra, it now gets an even larger 1/1.31 inch sensor. Now, that's not quite a 1 inch sensor, so that could be the mainstream sensor for this year's camera-focused flagship though. Right, the telephoto camera here on the F8 Ultra will be the other upgrade. Now, you will be having a 5x optical zoom lens, and that also comes with 50 megapixels. So you'll be able to zoom 10 times without losing any sharpness and texture, and at 20 times and beyond, ultra zoom kicks in, and that's the AI processing and algorithms. Now, the Pro model features a 2.5 times optical zoom lens. And finally, here on the F8 Ultra, there's one more thing. We're eventually getting a 50 megapixel sensor for the ultra wide angle lens as well. So we'll be able to shoot 4K video on all the ultra wide angle lens, the main camera, and the 5x optical zoom lens as well. And we've already got hundreds of footages and photos from daytime to low light. And just to make sure they haven't missed out telemacro photography here, the telephoto lens here on the F8 Ultra focuses to subjects that are as close as 30 centimeters to the camera itself, and there you can further zoom in 2 times to get an even tighter framing, and that will actually give you 230mm telemacro photography. Now on the video side, the F8 Ultra actually allows us to shoot all the way up to 8K video, but that's only supported on the main camera. In the meantime, 4K, 30 and 60. Finally, they've added that support to the ultra wide angle lens as well. So now you'll be able to shoot 4K 60, 4K 30 frames per second videos on all the ultra wide angle lens, the main camera, and the 5x periscope telephoto camera as well. It's also worth mentioning that 8K videos actually supported even on the Pro variant. However, 4K 30 and 4K 60 frames per second videos only work on the main camera and the 2.5x telephoto camera on the Pro model. If you intend to shoot ultra wide angle video with 4K, you will have to get the Ultra variant this year. That should give you a more all-rounded camera system that's flagship tier. Alright, and this is the 2.8K Super Steady mode working even on the telephoto lens here, though the key is that's a photo taken with a telephoto lens. You can see that the optical image stabilization there is working really well. Even at 20 times zoom, not only is the photo sharp and clear, I was literally flying across thousands of Indonesian islands on such a fast-moving boat. The fact that it's able to deliver a stable, not shaky photo, in my opinion, that's pretty remarkable itself. Not to mention, you'll be having reliable HDR performance here, especially for challenging scenes in backlight situation like these, that I was literally facing the shadow side right in front of a beautiful sunset. Both the details and texture in the shadows as well as the skin tones well balanced, while the phone's doing a remarkable job in retrieving all the details from the highlights. The transition of colors from white to blue to orange. I would say the camera system here on the Poco F8 Ultra is pretty reliable for day-to-day use, even for any sort of occasion and holiday photos and videos capturing. Right, so you're getting a solid camera system here on the Poco F8 Ultra, though there's one thing that's worth pointing out. Well, you'll be able to shoot 4K 120 video on Xiaomi's high-end Ultra phone on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra on both the main camera and the 5x telephoto camera. Here on the F8 Ultra, you'll only be able to do 1080p Full HD resolution for 120 frames per second video capturing. That shouldn't be exactly a deal breaker for most of you out there, I believe. So I truly hope that they'll be able to add that 4K 120 support through software updates or even on next year's model to make that even more all-rounded and complete. And up to this point, 4K 30, 4K 60 frames per second video support on all the ultra-wide-angle lens, the main camera and the telephoto camera is quite a big step forward though. And speaking of photography, there's a whole new set of frames and watermark. So now they've basically given us the choice between the exotic Poco yellow color for the frame or a more sophisticated and sort of professional looking black and white frame. Moving on to the AI features that's available on the Poco F8 series. And first and foremost, that could be the most commonly used AI feature. We have our image editing tool here. The Xiaomi Poco's now able to detect all the passerbys in one go, that you'll be able to remove all of them with one click and generate all the missing pixels in the photo in one go. Nothing's new there. Right, AI expansion. The maximum expansion will be all the way up to 200%. Now, this feature, however, could be relatively new. So here we have an ordinary photo taken with auto mode. The AI now is able to identify the main subject in the photo, then applies a more refined and precise bokeh effect to the background. Now look, it's not simply applying a blur effect outside of a circle or oval shape area, it's identifying the main subject precisely and even turning that highlights area, the light source, into this sort of bokeh balls effect. That's truly revolutionary that you can turn every photo into this sort of portrait mode photos afterwards. And now here's the Create Sky feature that's basically available on newer Xiaomi and Poco phones. I wouldn't count that as photography, though the AI swaps and generates various weather effects based on your choice. I would say 30, 40 to 50% of the effect will give you a more compelling, persuasive effect. And speaking of AI, the Poco phone here is running HyperOS 3 that's identical on Xiaomi's flagship phones. So basically you'll be having the entire set of Xiaomi AI features here on the Poco F8 Ultra and the Pro model as well. And that certainly includes the mightier than ever Google Gemini, instant call translation and call recording, as well as the flexibility to get a transcript of that call recording. Now, AI subtitles is another feature that's worth mentioning, especially for your short videos and live stream on any platform, even for YouTube live streams. Now, the AI here generates a real-time subtitles in the language of that particular video, while at the same time it's actually generating a translated subtitles in your native language or any language that you'll be able to understand. And the last feature we'll be covering today is that Xiaomi interconnectivity app that also works on the Poco. So you'll be able to share photos and documents from your phone to your MacBook, iPad or iPhone. Or in fact, you can now mirror your screen from your phone to your iPad and MacBook. Even drag a photo or any sort of documents from your phone directly into your iPad and MacBook. Now let's see what Apple users will react to that. And finally, we've got the pricing. For the Poco F8 Pro is starting from just a little bit more than 500 quid. Oh, for the exact pricing in your country or region, a visit to their official website could be a good idea. And for the Ultra variant, that's under $700 with the early bird offer. Also, the pricing could be a little bit different depending on which corner of the world you're living in. All in all, the Poco F8 Pro with the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset inside is a pretty all-rounded and dependable phone for day-to-day use. With with a more budget-friendly price tag. Well, as for the Ultra variant, in my opinion, it's actually competing with phones that's selling for almost double of its price. Great camera, if not the absolute best camera system, a large and flat 6.9 inches massive display, the latest and greatest Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 inside the chassis. Oh, and speaking of that body, here you've got the unique denim finish on the back, which is not exactly denim, or you can get that glass fiberglass material on the black variant. And don't forget the subwoofer here on the back of the phone that truly delivers, and in my opinion that could sparkle another wave of fierce competition other than just the camera system on a smartphone. You will definitely be spotting the differences, and speaking of spotting the differences between different phones from different brands, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more FlashingDroid style comparison videos. See you all in the next one.